All right, good evening and welcome everybody. Just give me 1 second. I'm getting everybody in the room. All right, so welcome to day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had to count. Welcome to day 5. Day 5 is the energy of self-expression. Let me know if you can hear me clearly before I begin. Type it in the chat for me right quick, and then I'll continue. Good, thank you so much. All right, so this self-expression is known as the throat chakra, and the color associated with it is light blue. Now, every energy center is massive in terms of understanding, but this one is really massive for me because I have such passion and interest in communication. So I decided not to write anything down. I'm just going to allow what needs to come through to come through. And in doing that, remember your pen and paper is welcome. Take some deep breaths here. Remember that we are here for evolution. And if some things touch a nerve, know that the nerve needed to be touched. And if we are empowered, as we learned last night with tools, we don't mind feeling that because we understand what to do with it. And if you need any assistance in learning effective tools for navigating your emotions, the realm of the emotions, then remember I offer one-on-one coaching. All right. And I've decided that my next series coming is going to be entitled Deactivating Triggers. All right, so stay tuned for that information. When we talk about the throat center, the throat chakra, the area of self-expression, there are many things that hinder self-expression, and I would like to talk about them because so far we've talked about the root, which is our human need for survival, safety, security, food, drink, water, sex, right? We talked about our creative center, which is our womb space. It determines how we create in this life that we exist in. And then we moved into the solar plexus, and the solar plexus was about our identity, our power seat, our ability to exist as an autonomous human being, right? And to assert our will in ways that serve us. We talked about our heart being the center of our passion and our feeling, and we've already discussed that we have to feel in order to evolve. Like there's no way around it. Our feelings are notifications, And so sometimes I hear people say, I don't do emotions. That person who doesn't do emotions is not evolving in that area. The person who says they don't trust their emotions is telling me that they don't understand the emotional terrain. A person who is saying to me emotions are not valid is a person who doesn't understand the heart and the soul. So if we understand all the things we talked about already, then we also understand the importance of self-expression. We can express ourselves through conversation, through writing, through art, through movement, right? You can probably find some other ways of self-expressing. Singing, music, anything that's included in art. However you express, whether it's your facial expressions, whether it's the energy you project, whatever it is, self-expression is important because it's the way we connect with other human beings. We got to remember that our voice is energy. Our voice has a certain tone. It has a certain vibration. It vibrates the air. It affects the atmosphere, right? And a lot of times we have a problem with our own voice. I know years ago, I hated to hear my own voice. I would just cringe at the vibration of my voice. Imagine that. And some of you might know what I'm talking about. Imagine that you cringe at the vibration, the creative frequency of your own voice. That's something. So we begin there by asking ourselves, where did we learn that our voice was something to be annoyed by, something to be ashamed of? Where did we learn that? And how can we come into a better relationship with our voice? Was it something someone said? I grew up singing in a choir, and I can remember my first solo. I was so nervous, and I only knew how to sing in my falsetto voice, right? So I got up, knees shaking, did my solo, and I was so proud of myself. I was proud of my voice. It was my first time. My choir director was proud of me because we had spent weeks working on that song, and it was such a simple song. But as soon as I got around my peers, they started joking. My voice has a way of trembling sometimes, and people often think that means I'm nervous. It's just the vibration of my voice. Part of it is that there's some damage done to it. Part of it is it always has been like that, right? But they started making fun of the trembling. They said I sounded like a bird. Oh my God. And I began to hate my falsetto voice, and I never wanted to use it again until I made myself be an alto and almost a tenor, because I never wanted to use it again. Maybe something like that has happened. Maybe people have joked that your voice is squeaky. People have told me I talk slow, because I'm from New Orleans. What are the things that bother you about your voice, if anything? Or maybe you love your voice. We got to come into a good relationship with our voice. It's something little talked about in terms of self-love, but something so important, something so foundational. Our voice is part of our power. Our voice is part of our potential. Our voice is part of our creative tool. So I encourage you to come into a right relationship with your voice. And of course, we're going to clear the ways. Self-expression also has to do with communicating accurately from the heart center. A lot of people experience difficulty in this, and I have been one of those people. Sometimes you've wondered, like, where can I self-express freely and not experience backlash? Every time I open my mouth, somebody's mad about something. Or maybe you've been in a relationship where it seemed like everything you said was a problem. And if you said something, it was going to be a problem. So you learned how to suppress. Maybe as a child, you were told, I don't want to hear that. I've heard that many a times, you don't talk back. You don't have any say. I heard that growing up. And so that goes into our subconscious. And we wonder if what we have to say even matters to people. and they're wondering the same thing. Then you have the situation of what to do once the thing has been said. That goes back to our power seat. That also goes back to our heart center. Are we empowered in the emotional terrain to handle what happens when we speak and what happens when we're spoken to? That's a big part of intimacy. That's a big part of connection. Do we know what to do? And if we don't know what to do, we've gotten some results that we didn't like in the past and have decided we're not going to talk. Have you ever decided about a person, that's the last time I open my mouth to them? That's the last time I say anything to them. They won't have to worry about me saying anything because I'm not going to, we've all made vows like that. We clear the ways. The issue wasn't that what we said was wrong. There was probably a bunch of issues in that. One was how you said it, the energy behind it, the intention behind it. Another reason would be the way it was perceived based upon the person's triggers. Sometimes we don't have the right words. We're not perfect. Sometimes we don't say things the right way. I go out of my way to communicate effectively. And still, I find situations where I could have said something different. So it's important in self-expression, whether it's creative in art or communication, it's important to understand that we're not trying to communicate to get things right. We're not trying to express to get things right. We're not trying to express to be right. Have you ever sent a message to somebody or called somebody because you wanted to tell them how you felt because you felt they were wrong, right? And the opposite is I was right. And they probably didn't take it that well. Or they might have apologized profusely, but then felt some kind of way on the inside and didn't express it. Or maybe you told them and they retaliated by telling you that you're wrong. You see, all of these different dynamics it makes self-expression so difficult, and our throat begins to suffer, our throat chakra. Now, again, I am of the belief that medical issues within the energy center can be helped by working on that chakra, but I do not think a closed or blocked chakra is what causes the medical condition. I have to say that. So if you deal with situations with your throat, I don't believe it's because you have a blocked throat chakra or something. I believe you have whatever's going on in your cells, and working on your throat can help to heal it, right? We can breathe to heal. Another way to heal is be empowered. Because if you feel empowered by the way you communicate, you are likely to do it more. My daughter, just the other night, and she's been doing this ever since she could. She would draw something and it doesn't come quite out the way that she wants it, and she'll get frustrated. She's not satisfied with her self-expression. So I say to her, and I said it to her the other day, remember, you got to practice this expression. If it's not quite what you want, then do it again. But if you think it's about getting it right, you're going to be frustrated and you're going to suppress. You're going to conclude that you shouldn't self-express anymore. And that's not true. A lot of times we had difficulty with people because we were not empowered with tools, with effective strategies. The issue was not that communication should be ceased. It's that we don't understand because we haven't been taught. So what's the resolution? We need to get taught, right? And so I also want to take some time in this moment to express that every relationship has its different domain, if you will. And I can remember being in marital counseling and fussing that the person I was married to didn't listen, and they didn't talk, and they were shut down, and I had a problem because I had stuff to talk about. And I don't believe this was the right thing, but it was a profound thing, okay? So the person I was in, we were in therapy with, said, you need friends. I was so angry because I wanted that person to do what I wanted them to do, which was listen, understand, perceive, process, and then churn out the results that I wanted. I was not into allowing that person to be who they authentically were. And I got some results that I didn't like. If people around you are shutting down, you are co-creating that situation with them, with your self-expression. It's not just them shutting down because that's how they are. Perhaps that is how they are. But there's something in you that co-creates that situation with them and vice versa. I'm speaking about this because self-expression is, or the trouble of self-expression often leads to a lot of relational difficulty. The issue is not self-expression. The issue is not that nobody understands you or nobody wants to hear. We got to look at how you're creating this unconsciously. I'm not saying you're creating it consciously. We got to look at how you're creating this unconsciously and look at the proper resolve. Your power seat, your expression, your creativity, your need to be heard. All of that is wrapped up in this teaching, right? So some activities to work on. Maybe you have some trouble expressing aggression, right? I'm going to post a link in the group. There's something in yoga called a lion's roar, where you get on all fours. It's a particular posture. You open your mouth wide like a lion and you roar. That's a useful one. Sometimes breathing and following the breath in through your nostrils and down the back of your throat, and imagine it clearing and filling your body with love and nourishment. And as you exhale all of the things that may have sabotaged you or blocked you or hindered you from self-expression. Drinking warm liquids that soothe the throat, like tea with lemon, honey. Anything that can offer soothing to your throat is a good practice. There's tea called throat coat with specific herbs that have lubrication for the throat. Going to coaching, going to therapy, talking with a friend who can hear you. And I want to go back to the relationship thing. So every relationship has its own domain. And what I've learned is sometimes we want to dump the heaviness of all things in one relationship. Sometimes we want to tell the person, sometimes we want to self-express before we have processed, before we have done the shadow work. And it ends up being a catastrophe. And we end up regretting even self-expressing. There's some relationships that can handle heavy things more than others. There's some relationships that you have to more deeply process before self-expressing, whereas others you have to almost process nothing at all. You can just speak freely. It's important to have diverse relationships around you so that you don't incorrectly conclude that you shouldn't self-express or nobody gets you. You got to have a variety of relationships, and that comes from understanding how you exist in the world, understand how you experience the world, and how you create in the world is going to help you create a situation where self-expression is welcome. Sometimes we just want to say what we said, right? That almost always is going to end in disaster when you're trying to be close to someone. Sometimes you just want to express how you feel and leave it there. Not a good idea. Okay, so with all this being said, I hope that something in here touched you and caused you to relate or identify in a situation. And mostly I want you to relate and identify to how you experience these scenarios, because sometimes it's easy to look out and go, yeah, such and such does that. This one does that. But this work is the inner work. We want to look at how I do that, how I do these things, how I co-create these things, and how I want to shift for a healthier and a happier life. So as we breathe right now, we're just taking a deep breath in through the nostrils. And right now, be mindful, follow the breath in through your body and feel it clearing your throat passageway. Watch and follow the air, feel the air go into your chest, your heart center, and into your lungs, your solar plexus, and even imagine it going down farther all the way to your root and then back out. Follow the path of the breath and imagine, envision blockages being cleared. We clear the ways. We clear the ways that we have a disdain for our own voice, our own vibration, our own tool, our own power tool. We clear the ways that we have co-created situations that have resulted in unpleasant situations. We clear the ways that we have concluded, incorrectly concluded, that we should not self-express, that our self-expression is not important. We clear the ways. We clear the ways that we ignore ourselves when our soul is speaking. We clear the ways that we are afraid to get tools of empowerment. We clear the ways that we isolate to avoid unpleasant conversations. We clear the ways that we have held on to resentment and bitterness from our relationships. We clear the ways that our chest contracts when we think about self-expressing. We clear the ways that we hold other people's opinions more highly than our own, such that we will not self-express. We clear the ways that we have not regarded wisdom in our communication, or we didn't have the wisdom to regard. We clear the ways that we beat up on ourselves for something that we didn't know or wasn't aware of or forgot. We clear the ways right now. We clear the ways. And in this moment, we commit to developing our emotional intelligence. We commit to empowering ourselves with tools for better communication. We commit to self-expressing whatever is native to our soul, be it movement or writing or painting or music or singing, howling, whatever it is, your self-expression is valid, and we commit to the validity of our self-expression. We acknowledge the validity of our own self-expression. We also acknowledge the ways that we have gone about self-expression in ways that have included bitterness and resentment and created more of it. We acknowledge that we have a deep desire to be heard, a deep desire to be understood, a deep desire to be embraced. We have a deep desire in the human soul for connection. As we are aligning all of our energy centers, we are making it more and more possible for those connections to take place. We give thanks. Place your right hand on your throat, if you will, in a loving manner. And just begin to think good thoughts about your self-expression, about communication in general, how beautiful it is when it happens in a way that is understanding and mutual. Think about how beautiful it is when you really communicate the way that you want to, because you've been practicing. And give thanks that we actually have ways to move energy called self-expression. We release any stories that we've held around our voice, what it sounds like, what people think of it, what people think of our art and our creations. We release any stories we've told about other people's voices, other people's creations, other people's self-expressions, because now we see it as all necessary and all valid. The way you wear your hair, your makeup, your clothes, your body adornment, the way you move, the way you have your facial expressions are all unique, all necessary, all important. And how you feel is important as well. It's always of the utmost importance. But first, it's got to be important to you so that you get empowered to move the energy in ways that serve you. We invite truth into our being. We invite openness into our being. We invite creativity into our being. We invite passion into our being. You may take your hand off your throat if you desire. We invite expansion within our being, evolution. We open our arms wide and we say yes to shifting our consciousness in the area of self-expression. As we breathe in deeply, we breathe in gratitude, we breathe in newness, and exhale, we remember old things passed away. Up until now, you haven't liked the way that you self-expressed, you judged it. But here going forward, you appreciate your self-expression. You are learning to appreciate it more and more in every moment. You are coming forward bravely and courageously in your self-expression because you are empowered with tools of communication. You're coming forward bravely in your creativity and your self-expression. And we give thanks. And we give thanks. And we give thanks. If you agree with this and your heart is set upon it, to yourself, say, it is so, it is so, it is so, and it is so.